I'm Alicia Brown, and today we're going to help take you from an ice fishing beginner to a pro who can catch fish just like that. Ice fishing is a great wintertime activity in Wyoming. You can expect to ice fish from December through early March, but you can fish whenever there's good, safe ice on the water. One of the biggest things to keep safe is knowing how thick the ice is. Wyoming Game & Fish recommends at least 4 inches of good, clear, or black ice to stay safe while you're ice fishing, but more is definitely better. Today we're sitting on about 2 feet of ice here. Ice fishing can be a really great activity and really safe to do if you just take a couple of precautions. One of the main precautions you want to have is you want to have a flotation device. If there is an accident, it helps you get out of the water a lot easier. Something that also will help make that easier is ice picks. Something like these, you kind of keep them hung around your neck, and they've got little spikes in them that you can use to help kind of pull out just in case something does happen. Additionally, an extra pair of clothes if you do get wet to warm up faster. A rope is also nice to have on hand. You can throw it to somebody else who's standing on safe ice. If you ever do go through the ice, that means the ice in that spot is thin, and it's not good to risk somebody else falling in to rescue one person, so that's where a rope really comes in handy. You don't need a lot of gear to get started ice fishing. It's really easy to get into. You can do it with a very basic setup. Some of the things you want to start your setup would be a rod and a reel combo, sort of like this one. A variety of jigs. We'll show you some more of those later. Some bait is good to help kind of lure those fish in. And you'll need some sort of auger or something to cut a hole in the ice. And it's really nice, I think, as well, to just have a bucket. This will help you carry all your gear, and it can function as a seat while you're out on the ice. So there's a wide variety of jigs, and you kind of want to target your jig towards the kind of fish that you're fishing. If you're fishing for panfish or warm water species, they kind of like smaller jigs for the most part. The colors that are good for those fish are chartreuse is a really good color. Blue and black are also good colors. Fishing for trout, some good colors are pink and white in any combination. Chartreuse is good, as well as olive. Black can work well for trout too. Again, with these fish, the best way to learn is if something isn't working, try changing and see if you can find something that does. There's also rubber body jigs or hair jigs, kind of like these, and everything will work. Larger jigs, obviously, if you know you're going somewhere that has a little bit larger fish, is probably not a bad idea. When I'm ice fishing, something that I like to do is I like to tip the hook with bait. Earthworms work great, mealworms work great, waxworms work great. If you're going after a fish that eats other fish, say lake trout or tiger trout or walleye, some sort of, sucker meat or minnow works really well as bait as well. A way that I like to bait a hook is I'll take my bait, so I've got a mealworm here, and then you pull a little slack out of your line and take a hold of your jig. And on my mealworms, I just take below their body where their legs are and kind of center my hook right at their furthest back set of legs. So I poke through, and you kind of poke through their body so the hook is coming out the mealworm's back, and I try to keep that mealworm kind of in line with the jig. Then I take the butt of the mealworm and rip it off, just so that scent gets in the water a little better. And that's kind of how I like to set my rig up for ice fishing. Generally, when you're ice fishing, these short rods work really well. If you have a hut or something, you can fish a couple more rods inside an ice hut if they're short like this. And really, you don't need quite as much power when you're fishing straight down from you as you would if you were casting out a long ways. As you get more and more into ice fishing, you can upgrade. You can get a whole lot of different gear to make your ice fishing experience a little more comfortable, a little more enjoyable. For example, you can get a nice folding chair, something that you can take out. It's a little more comfortable than sitting on the bottom side of a bucket. You can get a power auger rather than a hand auger to make the hole drilling faster. You can also get a hut That way when the weather is cold, you can stay inside the hut and keep ice fishing. And to top that off, you can get a heater to keep that hut really cozy warm. A couple other things, you can get a fish finder to, make sure that where you're set up, you're actually seeing fish. There are fish passing through your spot. A sled can be another handy tool. It makes it a lot easier to get your gear out onto the ice. If you're interested in getting into ice fishing and you don't know where to start, a good way to find lakes that have fish in them are on the Wyoming Game and Fish Department website. We have records that show where fish have been stocked and when. We also have an interactive map that shows what kinds of fish are in different lakes and different waters around the state. These tools, you can use them to pick a spot. If you're looking for somewhere that just has a bunch of rainbow trout that were recently stocked for an ice fishing season, you can see that on there. Or if you're looking for something a little more difficult, maybe a large lake trout, we have tools that will show you where to go to catch different kinds of fish. Once you've decided on a lake to fish, you want to figure out how to pick the best spot on that lake to catch fish. And there's a couple different ways to do that. A good way is if you have access to a bathymetric map. You want to look for drop-offs, any kind of structure. Fish really tend to hang out at those drop-offs in depth or around structures in the lake. If you don't have access to a bathymetric map, it depends on the kind of fish that you're fishing for and the depth of the lake. But a lot of the times for trout, 20 to 40 feet of water is a really good place to start fishing. And if you're not having any luck there, maybe move further in or further out. Another tip to find a great spot to fish is to ask people around you. People are generally ready to share where the ice fishing has been good. Ice fishing is a great wintertime activity in Wyoming. You still get to get out and you get to go fishing even when everything's frozen up. Another advantage of it is that, like today, we're out on this lake where if you don't have a boat, you wouldn't get to access a lot of this area. Ice fishing, you have access to most of the lake. The fish are eager to eat and they fight really well through the ice. Before you head out, it's important to know the regulations for the water you're fishing as well as the statewide regulations. You want to make sure you have a fishing license before you go ice fishing. Some places in Wyoming you can use 2 rods, but there's also places in Wyoming where you can use 6 ice fishing rods. So if you can use 6 rods, that's a big advantage. Using those 6 rods, you can definitely try out a variety of jigs to see what's working, what the fish are biting faster. You can try different depths. You can try different baits. It'll give you a lot better idea of where the fish are, what they like, and that'll just increase the number of fish that you catch. To be comfortable ice fishing, you want to take plenty of warm weather gear. It's good to dress in layers. If you've got a beautiful day like today, you can shed a layer or 2, but if it gets cold, you want to make sure that you're safe and warm. So bring, hats, good gloves, plenty of jackets, snow pants, and good warm insulated boots will keep you out ice fishing longer. It's always good to have waterproof gear as well because there's a chance you'll get your fingers wet dealing with fish or drilling holes. There's lots of great resources out there when you go ice fishing. The Wyoming Game and Fish has plenty of resources on their website, and there's lots of local knowledge out there. If you stop to buy bait before you go out ice fishing, ask the sporting goods store or the gas station where you buy your bait what waters are fishing good at that time of year, or if they have any information on the ice conditions. They're usually really good resources. The best way to get better at ice fishing is to just get out there and try a couple different things. Take a friend, go out, enjoy the day, maybe catch a couple fish along the way. We hope you've enjoyed this video and have learned a couple things. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and be sure to check out our other ice fishing videos.